So the underlying story being told here, at least that I see, is that women are more desirable as wives and mothers and as someone for a man to fall in love with if they can cook and clean and be domestic goddesses. It is so fun and so nostalgic to see Lindsay Lohan back. And to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Netflix's rom-coms. I watch them because I love rom-coms, especially Christmas ones, but I'm usually disappointed. They're formulaic. The leads often lack chemistry, and I just think they could put in more effort. That being said, Falling for Christmas is fun to watch. It's definitely better than some of their recent rom-coms, which some of them I haven't even been able to finish. And Court Overstreet is pretty adorable, and so is Lindsay Lohan. And I also think they had good chemistry, and the movie did give me the warm fuzzies, which is really what I want at the end of the day. But this was the #1 movie on Netflix when it came out. I mean, bringing Lindsay Lohan back to the screen and in a rom-com, it's going to be an instant hit, and Netflix knew that. And I think they did a good job, and there are so many stories about womanhood and what makes a woman happy in this movie that I want to unpack a little bit. So let's start with Lindsay's character, who is a rich daddy's girl who apparently has no skills and gets waited on hand and foot. When she gets amnesia, see what I mean when I say formulaic, but hey, who doesn't love a good amnesia romance? And she ends up having to stay at a ski lodge with its handsome owner and young daughter, and she can't do a thing. It's very reminiscent of Overboard, which was one of my favorite 80s rom-coms. Until, of course, she gets taught by the handsome lodge owner and his daughter. They teach her to cook, to do laundry, to make her own bed, and, you know, all the other things that you have to know how to do. And she's somewhat of an embarrassment when she can't do those things. And then when she decides to learn, you can see the romance beginning to develop between her and the lodge owner. And I'm calling him that because I can't remember his name. Hers was Sierra, I do remember that. So the underlying story being told here, at least that I see, is that women are more desirable as wives and mothers and as someone for a man to fall in love with if they can cook and clean and be domestic goddesses. If they are in a position to have other people do that work for them and have assistance, there's a sort of feeling of being better than them. Like, she might be rich, but she can't cook or clean or do anything remotely domestic, so her life must not be that fulfilling. And this might seem nitpicky. I mean, who needs to pick apart a Netflix rom-com? But millions of women are watching this movie and absorbing this message. And of course, it's a message we see everywhere in society, but it would be interesting to see Netflix subvert the normal Christmas rom-com story and take away the message that a woman's life is more fulfilling when she can be a homemaker. Article after article is written about how women still do the majority of housework even when they work outside of the home, and how burnt out women are. And as someone who helps women to get out of burnout, and as a wife and mom myself, I can attest that the belief that part of our value comes from being a homemaker is something that can be a piece of the burnout that women are experiencing. And when the stories we consume cater to this belief of women and domesticity, it just adds to that story in our own minds that we have to keep the perfect home to be worthy wives and mothers. I guarantee you Kim Kardashian does not do her own cooking and cleaning. We know she doesn't. But she's still a good mother, and she was still a good wife. Another little piece of Falling for Christmas that I want to look at is the handsome hero rescuing the emotionally fragile woman. Not once, but twice in the movie, Court Overstreet's character rescued Lindsay Lohan's character. First when she hit her head and was passed out in the snow, and next when she almost fell down some steps while attempting to have some value by carrying wood. The woman being rescued by the man is so ubiquitous in romances, and it's something that women are kind of taught to think of as romantic, even while it also feeds into an idea of women being weaker and needing to be rescued. And I also noticed that Lindsay's character didn't seem to have a whole lot of resilience. Like, anytime she got the slightest criticism from Cord's character, she would get upset and have to leave the room and feel awful about herself. And I'm not saying this doesn't happen, but I would love to see examples of women with emotional resilience rather than fragility, women who can take a criticism and see the truth in it and handle it with strength. As a hypnotherapist, I'm very aware that our brain takes in and interprets all the information it gets. So when we watch a fun and cute rom-com and we get the warm fuzzies, that's all good for our brains. But our brain is also absorbing all these messages about who and how women are, about our role in the world, and I don't think it's as innocent as we think it is. Even while we enjoy these movies or the romance novels that I adore, we also need to look deeper at the messages underlying the stories and what they're telling us about who we are and who we should be. Because even when we don't think a simple rom-com is affecting our own sense of worth, when it is a part of a bigger societal story, it definitely does affect how we see ourselves. And I think every story we create could be a part of changing that greater societal story for the better of us all.